There comes a moment, quiet, unannounced, when the ticking of the clock no longer measures time, but meaning. After 40, life doesn't rush. It whispers. It doesn't shout for change. It invites you to listen. To the ache in your bones, the hush in your heart, the stories in your scars. Stories in your scars. Everything you've faced, each joy, loss, and silence, has been a note in a symphony far more ancient than memory. We are not separate from this vast unfolding. We are threads in its eternal weave, dancers in its invisible rhythm. And though the world may call it aging, nature knows it as ripening. What if the questions you fear hold the very answers your soul has always known? These are not just rules. They are lanterns for the dark, echoes of wisdom passed down through time, for the part of you that is eternal. Because even after the storm, the stars remain exactly where they've always been, waiting for you to look up. There is a peculiar magic that begins to settle over life after 40. It's not loud, not forceful, full. It doesn't come crashing in like youth's ambition or desire. It drifts in softly, like mist over a quiet lake at dawn. You may not even notice it at first. It's in the pauses between conversations, in the early morning when no one needs you, in the evening when silence lingers just a bit longer than it used to. And in that silence, something extraordinary begins to speak. You see, the first half of life is a kind of symphony made of striving, career, relationships, identity, status. We build, we chase, we compare, and all the while, the world applauds our noise. But after a certain point, that applause fades. The world grows quieter, and we start to hear something else entirely. The spaces between the notes. The silence isn't empty. It's full. Full of all the things we missed when we were busy performing. In those still spaces, you begin to sense that life is not a puzzle to be solved, but a poem to be heard. And like all great poetry, its meaning lies not just in the words, but in the breath between them. This is the turning point. This is the turning point. It's when you stop asking what you can take from the world and start asking what the world has been whispering to you all along. In youth, we mistake movement for meaning. But with age, we begin to understand. Meaning lives in presence, being with what is, not what should be. Maybe that's why stillness can feel so uncomfortable at first. We're not used to hearing ourselves. We're not used to confronting the unedited truths that arise when the noise dies down. But this is where wisdom is born. Not in adding more, but in subtracting. Not in rushing forward, but in being still long enough to see what has always been right here. There is a vast intelligence in life's unfolding, far beyond anything we can control. And yet, we've been taught to fill every moment, to fear the space between events. But the space, the gap, the breath, that is where life lives. The pause between inhale and exhale is where spirit rests. And so, after 40, one of the most protective and profound rules you can live by is this. Try to listen to what isn't being said. Silence in your relationships. The silence in your relationships. The quiet voice in your gut. The space between your thoughts. It's in these spaces that the deepest guidance resides. You don't need more information. You need deeper awareness. You don't need to run faster. You need to walk slower, to let your days catch up to your soul. To let your days catch up to your soul. There is no race, only rhythm. And you were never meant to sprint through this life. You were meant to dance with it, To listen is to trust. To be still is to surrender. And to surrender is not weakness. It is alignment with the eternal flow.
Mm-hmm.
This is how you begin to move, not against life, but with it. There is a music underneath the noise of the world. And when you begin to listen closely, truly listen, you'll realize something beautiful. You are not the composer, nor merely the audience. You are the instrument life has been waiting to play. It's an odd thing, how pain becomes a different creature after 40. In our youth, we try to outrun it, numb it, deny it, fix it as quickly as possible. We're told it's an error, a malfunction in the machinery of life. But as the years pass, you begin to see it differently. You begin to realize that pain isn't the enemy. It's the teacher that never raises its voice, but always leaves a mark. What once felt like chaos now starts to take shape, like a pattern, slowly emerging in a woven rug. The losses you thought would break you didn't. They broke something else. They broke something else. Something that needed to be broken. Illusions, attachments, ego. The lie that you were ever in control. Pain, as it turns out, has its own intelligence. It strips away the unnecessary. It forces presence. It humbles you. And in that humility, you begin to remember something ancient within yourself. Within yourself. Something that was always steady, always watching. Be untouched. We're here to be transformed. The most enduring beauty in life doesn't come from what goes smoothly. It comes from what survives. The fire. Fire. The relationships that fractured, the dreams that collapsed, the betrayals that shook you. They didn't arrive to destroy your path. They arrived to shape it. And when you look closely, when you truly begin to reflect without resentment, you'll find that the things you thought were curses carried strange blessings. The people who left made room for silence. The job you lost gave birth to meaning. The failure that embarrassed you planted the seed of wisdom. Chengbi. At first glance, it all seemed unfair, but from a wider lens, it was exact, almost poetic in its placement. We live in a culture obsessed with comfort, with avoiding the rawness of being alive. But the soul does not grow in perfect conditions. Does. It expands in discomfort, in uncertainty, in those long, quiet nights, when everything falls apart and nothing makes sense. That's when the truth sneaks in, not as a lightning bolt, but as a whisper. This too is sacred. The truth is, impermanence is not a threat. It's a gift. Gift. Because when we finally accept that nothing lasts, not youth, not certainty, not even this moment, we stop trying to cling. And in that letting go, life begins to move through us more freely. We laugh a little deeper. We grieve with more grace. We no longer need everything to be perfect because we see the perfection in what already is. You see, pain is not a punishment. It's not something that happens to you. It's something that happens for you when life is ready to evolve you. And that's what it's always been doing, evolving you, refining you, polishing your rough edges until only the essential remains. We often talk about healing as if it's a return to who we were, but true healing isn't a return. It's a becoming of someone quieter, deeper, more anchored, someone who knows that storms will come and also go, and nothing is ever truly lost. It simply changes form. So if you carry sorrow, carry it with reverence. If you carry regret, hold it like a prayer. Everything has played its part. Every tear was a message. Every wound was a doorway. And behind every pain, there was a truth trying to find its way to the surface. And maybe, just maybe, the purpose of all this, the breaking, the falling, the letting go, isn't to toughen us, but to soften us, to open us, not shut us down. To teach us that in the grand unfolding of this life, pain is not the absence of love. It is its deepest proof. There comes a time in your life, often quietly, almost imperceptibly, when the applause no longer excites you like it once did. The praise, the recognition, the nods of approval from others, they lose their grip. You don't resent them, but you no longer need them to feel real. That moment marks the beginning of something far more valuable than success. It marks the return to yourself. In the earlier chapters, we live outward. We measure our worth by the reflections in other people's eyes. This is a shift in perception, a kind of waking up, not into some perfect state of bliss, but into the realization that you are already part of the dance. The stars aren't just above you, they are in you. The same force that stirs the oceans stirs your thoughts, your heartbeat, your longing. You are not separate from life's great unfolding. You are an expression of it. And with that realization comes a strange relief. You no longer need to have all the answers. You don't need to know what's coming next, because you begin to trust the intelligence that has carried you this far. It's the same intelligence that orchestrates seasons without instruction, that makes flowers bloom without ambition. It moves without effort. It lives without needing to prove anything. And it lives in you. The mind, of course, wants something more concrete. It wants formulas, certainty, guarantees. But the soul doesn't speak that language. It speaks through presence, through awe, through those moments when time vanishes and you feel the eternal pulse of existence vibrating through your very being. In laughter, in tears, in silence, in breath. When you embrace this perspective, life softens. You stop measuring everything in terms of success or failure. You stop judging your path by how straight it looks. Instead, you begin to see your life as sacred terrain, winding, mysterious, sometimes painful, but always meaningful. Always connected to something larger, even when it doesn't make sense. And here's the beauty of it. You don't have to do anything extraordinary to live in alignment with the universe. You simply have to show up with honesty, with humility, with the willingness to feel. And when you do, life starts to feel less like a battle and more like a dance. Not always easy, but deeply, profoundly alive. So many people reach a certain age thinking they've missed their chance, that the best of life has already happened. But the truth is, you're not running out of time. You're running out of illusions. And what remains is far more real. What remains is what you were always meant to find. Yourself, whole and unfiltered. A vessel of awareness moving through the mystery. You don't need to figure everything out. You don't need to be perfect. You only need to be present, to honor the sacredness of being here at all. Because you are not here by accident. You are the cosmos folded into skin, a temporary shape given to eternal energy, a brief flicker of consciousness witnessing itself in form. And that is the wonder of it all. Not that you are here trying to make sense of the universe, but that the universe, somehow, is trying to understand itself through you. You are not apart from the divine pattern. You are its living proof.